We're not going to have another suspension before a big game, are we?
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, let's go, everybody, on a Tuesday, Veterans Day edition. Matt Dery with you, Locked On Lions, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. Welcome in. Thanks for being with us, making us your first listen, and checking us out wherever you get your podcasts. Locked On Lions for today. Brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Follow us on TikTok, Locked On Lions, Instagram, Locked On Lions, Facebook, Locked On Lions. We bring you content. We bring you shows each and every day, Monday through Friday. We'll have a show Sunday night, of course, right after the Lions face the Philadelphia Eagles. Where are the Eagles at ESPN's Power Rankings? Where are the Lions? We will tell you toward the back end of the show, coming up here in a little bit, right here on Locked On Lions. Ross Tucker, CBS, Westwood One, legend, was on the call last night on the national radio broadcast in Green Bay. Ross grew up an Eagles fan. Ross lives in Philly, covers the Eagles. Ross Tucker Football Podcast. He's going to join us tomorrow on the show. We'll have the crossover on Thursday. Much more to do this week as we get you ready for a humongous game on Sunday night between Detroit and Philadelphia. Eagles look good last night on defense. That offense, not great, but their defense is nasty and ferocious. We will discuss that coming up later on. Dan Campbell calling plays. But first, yes, it only takes one person. Of course, it happens on the old Twitter sphere. But it came out earlier today, courtesy of a video from J.P. Finley of NBC Sports Network in the D.C. area. Video of Amon-Ra St. Brown punching, swinging at Daron Payne of the Commanders this past Sunday. Just a few plays before, Payne cold-cocked St. Brown on the side of the neck and was subsequently kicked out of the game, ejected, and now suspended for their game in Spain when the Commanders head overseas to face the juggernaut, Frank the Tank's Miami Dolphins. Payne said after the game that he was swung on first. Nobody believed it at first. Javon Kinlaw said the same thing after the game, that St. Brown cheap shotted Payne. Now there is video. You know, you barely can see it, all right? It's basically an end zone shot after a Jahmyr Gibbs run play. St. Brown gets up after being blocked. He and Daron Payne have a few words. You could see them pushing and shoving, and very in a blurry kind of way, you see that, St. Brown does, in fact, after a couple of shoves, takes a swing at Payne's helmet. And he made contact with him. The official that was coming in on if you're watching the video on the left side, says nothing. He just came in and broke it up. No penalty was called. No flag was thrown. And there were a couple of officials, a side judge and a back judge, in the mix. They were there and did not whistle anything, did not call anything, did not flag anything. A few plays later, Lions scored their third touchdown. St. Brown's walking off the field, has a few words with Payne, and Payne punches him in the side of the head. St. Brown did say after the game, quote, "We end up scoring and I go up to him. I say a little something, nothing crazy, and he decides to swing on me." The big question now for this week is, does the league take action? Is this a finable situation? There was no penalty called on the play. The officials were right there. When you see somebody swing at somebody, Brian Branch does punch Juju Smith-Schuster in the face, helmet on, after the Chiefs game in broad daylight. Everybody saw it. We knew the next day that Branch was going to be suspended. I sit here on Tuesday at 5:47 p.m. East, and I see nothing. I hear nothing as far as whether or not Amon-Ra St. Brown would somehow be suspended for Sunday's tilt in Philly against the Eagles. Would the league want that? Would the league need that? Lions' best receiver, not in the game. Again, the officials were there. I think they're going to fine Amon-Ra St. Brown, but I don't believe that he's going to be suspended. Of course, Daron Payne after the game, Javon Kinlaw after the game said, quote, I just felt like in the moment we were being cheated, to be honest. Daron only retaliated because the refs literally saw the first punch. You know what I'm saying? I don't blame him for the way he reacted, and tempers got to be flying, end quote. Well, I'm sorry, but 3 or 4 plays later, after the touchdown, St. Brown running off the field or walking off the field, I don't care what happened before. I know there's the eye for the eye, an inch for an inch. I get the retaliation situation. I've never played football. I don't know what that's like. But if you're Daron Payne, you've got to keep your head in the game and you got to ignore and walk off the field, or you shove. Punching a guy right in the side of, well, from Payne it went this way, to the side of cold cocking him when the players are walking off and everybody sees it, that's an ejectable offense. Just ask Brian Branch. Now, I will say this about Amon-Ra. When Amon-Ra St. Brown came into the league, and when Amon-Ra St. Brown was a 4th-round pick, and when ARSB just got into the league and it was the sun god, this dude was the nicest guy, the humblest guy. Amon-Ra St. Brown's got a little attitude now. He just does. All right, watch his St. Brown podcast. Listen to him talk. He's cocky. But you know what? He backs it up. He's one of the top receivers in the game. Maybe he does have a little attitude. With that being said, whether you can't punch people, you're going to get, if Amon-Ra St. Brown somehow gets suspended, I'm going to go crazy. Now, they didn't whistle it or they didn't flag it, so I don't think that'll happen. But regardless, if we have to talk later this week about another Lions player punching another player and getting suspended, I'm going to be pissed. I hope that doesn't happen. I don't think St. Brown is a dirty player. I don't think he has the kind of reputation that, unfortunately, the Lions' 2 safeties have. They do. Kirby Joseph is viewed as a dirty player for those low hits a couple of years ago. Brian Branch is viewed as a dirty player for, punching people, helmet-to-helmet ejection in Green Bay last year. It's out there. Hopefully, Branch and Kirby have learned their lessons and they clean it up because the Lions need to have them on the field. But a lot of talk right now about, could there be I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's going to be a fine. But, and shout out to the Fox broadcast. You guys, and I know I've done this now 3 days in a row, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. What an abomination that broadcast was. To not even have this, do we got to wait till JP Finley or something from Twitter has this video before Fox showed it? What happened? Jonathan Vilma, what happened? I don't know. There's a flag, an ejection. Took us forever just to find the Daron Payne, to show us the Daron Payne punch on St. Brown. Regardless, Lions got to clean all that up. I get it. Heat of the game. St. Brown got tackled, basically, just trying to run block, and there was a little scuffle that ensued. You saw Kinlaw jawing with Jared Goff. I hope we need 14 on the field Sunday night in Philly, because that is going to be an absolute battle, because the Eagles are damn good and that defense is good. And I'll tell you one thing, I can guarantee on Thursday during the crossover with Louie, who hosts Locked On Eagles, we will talk about the Quinyon Mitchell, Amon-Ra St. Brown matchup, because that's going to be a lot of fun. Mitchell's having a huge year. He's playing really well. And we know how good Amon-Ra is. But I just hope there's no extracurricular BS, no, maybe a fine, no suspension, and let's move on. But Lions got to be careful. Punching guys in helmets and pads is only going to hurt your hand. It's stupid. All right. Speaking of the Eagles, they held the Packers to 7 points at home last night. That defense was nasty. We'll get into it coming up next because the Lions are going to see plenty of it Sunday night right here on Locked On Lions. And Locked On Lions brought to you by our friends at Rippling. If you're a business owner, here's the truth. SaaS promised to make work easier, but now the average company is buried by hundreds of apps that slow down your teams and simply don't work together. That's not SaaS. That's sad. Software as a disservice. That's why you need Rippling. Rippling is a unified platform for global HR, payroll, IT, and finance all in one place. They've helped millions of businesses replace a mess of disconnected tools with one system designed to give leaders clarity, speed, and control. By uniting your employees, teams, and departments in one system, Rippling removes the bottlenecks, busy work, and silos that your software created. It's seriously simple to use and gives companies one source of truth for their people, data, and everything that they touch. Right now, you can get 6 months free when you go to rippling.com/LockedOnNFL. Learn more at RIPPIL. PLING. That's RIPPLING. Rippling.com/LockedOnNFL. That's rippling.com/LockedOnNFL for 6 months free. Terms and conditions apply. And my friends, we are brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA is back. No better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. How about Kevin Griggs' Detroit Pistons? Oh my goodness. Dennis Jenkins at the buzzer last night. This team's on fire. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team is making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Matt Dery back on a Locked On Lions, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the number one sports podcast network. Shout out to our everydayers that are out there that watch the podcast on our Locked On Lions YouTube channel. Please subscribe or check us out wherever you get your podcast. That includes my guy, Brandon Litke. I will be at the Litke Mansion in parts unknown in Michigan with the executive producer, Nathan, my girl, Rainey. I love Rainey. Brandon and the kids for Lions Rams. The viewing party tradition continues. Thank you, Brandon, for checking out the pod daily here on Locked On Lions. All right, if you watched the game last night, and I was on an airplane flying back, thank goodness for the guy across the aisle from me and ahead of me. I just sat in my seat and watched his screen and watched the Eagles and Packers last night during the flight. And man, Philadelphia's defense was nasty. Green Bay's a good team. All right. Are the Packers a great team? No. Is Jordan Love look like he's regressing the last few weeks? Yes. Is Matt LaFleur on the hot seat? He was asked last night about not having his contract extended past next season after the game. Peter Bukowski's got to be in full-on meltdown mode. I'm going to have to send a text to my guy, Sweet Pete, here, the host of Locked On Packers. But regardless, to go into Lambeau Field and hold the Packers scoreless until midway through the fourth quarter is pretty remarkable, as the Eagles survived to win 10-7 in what was a pretty physical game. And for the Lions this week, we saw it this past weekend against Washington, and I said this yesterday. The Lions faced a Commanders team without their two top edge rushers, with bad defensive tackles, with an old roster. This weekend, the Lions are going up against Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, Nakobe Dean, Zach Bond, all right, Quinyon Mitchell, Blankenship's a damn good safety. I love Cooper DeJean. Maybe didn't have a great game last night, according to PFF, but Philly's got guys. They just are loaded on defense. Jalen Phillips coming off the edge last night, getting in the face of Jordan Love. This ain't the JV anymore. That was the JV defense that the Leos faced this past weekend in Maryland. All right. This is going to be some kind of test on Sunday night. If the Lions can score some points, let's say get to 24, I think they can win, because I don't think Philly is scoring more than 24 on the Lions defense. I don't. Philly had their issues last night offensively. Outside of the Saquon Barkley spin move and run down the sideline, and then the deep shot to Devontae Smith, Jalen Hurts did not look sharp for most of the night. He can run. We know that. He and A.J. Brown have not been on the same page, it seems. I love Dallas Goedert. Their tight end is great. We'll see about the injuries that the Eagles have right now in their offensive line. I know Lane Johnson was a little bit banged up last night. But my biggest concern is the Lions are a team that runs between the tackles. We know about Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, and that Lions offensive line really had a good game this past Sunday. But to go up against those big DTs for Philadelphia, the depth that's on that defensive line, it's going to be tough. Kobe Dean was flying around last night, number 17, flying around. And that's a guy that teams passed on in the draft. I couldn't believe it. Seems like all these guys that get passed on, like a Jalen Carter, like a Kobe Dean, all these Georgia Bulldogs that Howie Roseman, their fine general manager, drafts. But that was a heck of a defensive performance. Philly has won 3 in a row. They're the tops in the NFC at 7-2. And when we get to the power rankings, I'll tell you where they rank according to our friends at ESPN. I'll give you a clue. It's pretty high. They're just playing very good football. And to go into Lambeau Field and win that game. And I understand last weekend Carolina went into Lambeau and won, but you'd figure Green Bay would bounce back after a horrific home performance against the Panthers. And instead, they laid another egg offensively and now sit at 5-3-1. That was a real shame that the Packers lost last night. Do you realize that if the season ended today, the Detroit Lions would be the number 3 seed in the NFC, and they would play, what was it, be the Bears in the first round? I believe, right? That'd be pretty crazy. Lions, Bears, touchdown Bears. All right. Speaking of the Bears, I have a theory, and I've heard this a little bit, and there's been a little bit of a scuttlebutt about it, and I've heard a couple of people talking about it. Dan Campbell, of course, put on his reading glasses. Where am I? Should I do my Dan Campbell? He put on his readers, and he called plays on Sunday afternoon, stripping John Morton, of his offensive coordinator duties. And Dan Campbell said it was collaborative. He said, look, I am doing what's best for the team. I thought it was the right move. And we'll see going forward what it looks like. You have to wonder something about Dan. Do you think Dan Campbell was getting tired, despite the fact that the Lions still have the top scoring offense in the league and all this stuff? Do you think Dan Campbell, after last week against Minnesota and the Bears winning, looked up and said, this is still my team. This is still my offense. I hear what's out there about John. I hear what's out there about Ben. Watch this. I'm going to make a little statement here. Yes, Ben Johnson was our OC for 3 years. Yes, he won best assistant coach in the league last year, but this is still my team and my offense. And I'm going to show everybody who's boss, including the guy down the road, the guy now 94 in Chicago. You just have to wonder if Campbell had that mindset. Look, they needed a win. They needed to shake it up. They needed to tweak it, whatever you want to say. But I think Dan Campbell enjoyed getting a little bit of attention. I'm not saying he was getting attention for like public reasons and, hey, look at me. I think it was more of I'm still the boss. Yes, Ben Johnson got a lot of love, and deservedly so, for what he did with our offense. And Ben Johnson designed certain plays, the trick plays and stumble bum, and all those things were amazing. But I think Dan Campbell enjoyed, quieting things up a little bit and showing again that this is his team and he'll run it the way he wants to run it. And damn it, I can call plays too. He did that his first year with not a lot of talent, of course. It was Jared Goff. And he did it this past weekend, and they put up a 44 burger on the Commanders. I love that he has command of this thing, man. Seriously. He is a fantastic coach. He is. And now the ultimate test, Sunday night in Philly, going up against the world champs and Sirianni and all of that. What's he dialing up against a very, very just prolific, nasty, speedy, hard-hitting defense like the Eagles, who are really balling it right now? Like I said, 3 straight wins and 7-2. All right, coming up next, ESPN Power Rankings. Where are the Lions in this racket? And what about the Eagles? That's coming up next.
Today's show is brought to you by our friends over there at Peloton. Look, folks, it's time to break through the busiest time of the year with a brand new Peloton cross-training Tread Plus that's powered by Peloton IQ. It's Peloton's most elevated technology and equipment yet that gives you real-time guidance, and it gives you endless ways to move, whether you want to work out by yourself or if you want to work out with your favorite instructor, like my personal favorite, Alex Toussaint. He always gets me fired up to tackle the day. And the thing I like about Peloton, it helps me achieve more in less times. They have features that help you plan, stay motivated, track your progress, and Peloton IQ also provides personalized workout plans and recommendations. That's something that I use right now during the busiest time of the year covering the NFL. They plan my workouts for me based on my mood, my vibe, and also my favorite instructors. So make sure you check it out and use it, because it also helps you correct your form in real time, and it maximizes your reps. It counts your reps so that you can do it smarter, safer, and more efficient. Let yourself run, lift, flex, push, and go. Explore the new Peloton cross-training Tread Plus at onepeloton.com.
All right, Matt Dery back with you. It is a Tuesday edition of Locked On Lions. Ross Tucker Football Podcast, CBS Sports, Westwood One. I love Ross. Tuck Spreads, hashtag Tuck Spreads. Look it up on Twitter. Ross always goes into those press box buffets and pregame meals and videotapes everything. The spread last night at Lambeau looked pretty darn good. We'll have to ask Ross about that, as he will be. I'm assuming he'll be there Sunday night. I don't know what game he's doing for CBS. If he's doing a Westwood One game, we will find out tomorrow. Ross Tucker, always love having him on the show. That's tomorrow, right here on Locked On Lions. All right, are the Lions a top 5 team in this week's ESPN NFL Power Rankings? The answer is no. The Detroit Lions are currently number 6, where they were last year. Or last week. Lions beat up on the Commanders to improve to 6-3, yet they stay where they are at number 6 in the power rankings. Here's your top 5. Seattle at number 5, jumping 4 spots from 9 to 5 after they boat raced the Arizona Cardinals 44-22. That's an SV pod term. New England Patriots. Can you believe this Patriots squad? What is going on? Mike Vrabel doing an unbelievable job. And they're 8-2. They jumped 4 spots, number 4, after beating up on Tampa Bay. Indianapolis Colts, big win over the weekend over in Ireland. They are number 3 at 8-2. At number 2, Matthew Stafford, Sean McVay, and the LA Rams. They move up 3 spots from 5-2. They are now 7-2. And the new number 1, the Philadelphia Eagles. Who was number 1 last week? Buffalo dropped 6 spots. Philadelphia Eagles, the Lions' opponent for Sunday Night Football, 7-2, 3 straight wins. They are the number 1 team in the NFL. I love this. I absolutely love it. Lions and Eagles. That's going to be awesome Sunday night. Oh my gosh. Saquon, Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts, that whole attack is going to be tough to beat. Eagles, like I said, they won 3 in a row. They're well coached. Do you agree that the Seattle Seahawks, would you have the Seattle Seahawks? I know they're 7-2. Would you put Seattle ahead of the Lions? Mike McDonald has done a fantastic job, the former Michigan defensive coordinator. I don't know if I'm putting them ahead of the Lions, though. Seattle's damn good, though. And they've crushed people the last 2 weeks. I know, albeit Washington and Arizona, you knew was going to come back to earth a little bit after their big win a couple of weeks ago with Jacoby Brissett, but I didn't expect the Cardinals or the Seahawks to just jump all over Arizona like they did. By the way, rounding out the top 10, Buffalo at 7, Tampa Bay at 8, Denver at 9, and the Chargers at 10. See, Denver's 8-2, but yet they're ranked behind the Lions. In the division, you've got the Bears at 14. Green Bay has dropped to, oh gosh, where's Green Bay? I said Bears at 14, Packers at 12, Bears at 14, and Vikings are at number 20. Worst team in the NFL, according to these rankings, none other than the Tennessee Titans at 1-8. And of course, yesterday, the Giants fired their coach in Brian Daboll. Man, I'm so excited for this game. I'm like beside myself for Lions Eagles. This game is going to be, talk about just a physical game. And this is where guys like Coyote Awashika, Graham Glasgow, Tate Ratledge, we saw improvement this past Sunday. Watch the film, check out the tape, watch for yourself how well they played. But again, remember the competition and who they were up against. That Commanders defense is buns. It's terrible. So now an opportunity to go up against the two big guys in the middle there, Davis and Carter for Philly, and Jalen Phillips and all those guys on that Eagles front is going to be a lot of fun. But you watched that offense last night, you saw some warts. There's times that Jalen Hurts just does not look comfortable in the pocket, throwing off his back foot. If one of those flutter balls can be intercepted by a branch or a healthy Kirby Joseph, that could be a decider. It's not going to be easy playing in Philly at night. All right. But the Lions have been a good road team, man, and a good primetime road team the last few years. I'm well aware of the last time the Lions played on Sunday Night Football. Not a good performance at Kansas City, but the Monday night game at Baltimore, last year winning in Houston on Sunday night. I'm excited. I cannot wait for this game coming up Sunday night on NBC. We don't have to have Jonathan Vilma talk, so that's even better. All right, that'll wrap things up for a Tuesday edition of Locked On Lions, Locked On Podcast Network, your number one sports podcast network. Ross Tucker joins us tomorrow.